Bad choices. Dear Dr. Tracy, I am a 33-year-old divorced woman with 4 kids. I was married for 12 years and have been divorced for approximately 3 years. I met my new boyfriend during my divorce. We hit it off and have been together ever since. He is a 44-year-old divorced man. When I met him, he had been divorced for 2 years. Well, I met his ex-wife, and she seemed to be an okay person. What I found out 3 months into my relationship with him was that he was fooling around with his ex-wife again, who also at this time had a boyfriend of her own. I figured that since I did not have a committed relationship with him, I had no place to say anything. The problem is, it continued further into our relationship, up to the point when I found out I was pregnant. At the same time, I found out that he and his ex-wife planned to go to his family reunion together. Of course, before all of this, I drove by his house one night and saw her car parked outside his home. The excuse I got after all of this was that they were considering getting back together. I thought it was very funny that as soon as she met me, she found interest in him again. I guess my issue is the fact that I'm now still in this relationship. I have brought a child into this nonsense, and I hate the fact that he keeps in contact with her. My boyfriend has taken responsibility for her son from a previous relationship. His excuse for having so much contact with his ex-wife is because of that boy. I know this is not true, but I have no real proof otherwise. I have also dealt with him taking women to hotels, and my gut tells me it was her, but he promises it was not her. I have tried to get over all the cheating. I know that she is very close to his family, and I also know that his family does not like me because I stand up for myself. I guess the bottom line is knowing how much contact his ex-wife has with him and the fact that he knows that I can't stand her. Am I in a weird relationship with a man that wants to have his cake and eat it too? Or am I being paranoid and need to just trust him when he says he does not want her? I have never had so much animosity towards 2 people in my life. I do love this man, but I feel like I have put myself back in an unhealthy relationship with a man that is trying to lie to me. To be totally honest, now that I have his child, I even hate the fact that he helps her son. She never has to ask for anything regarding that boy, but I have to constantly remind him when our son needs something. He does it for the other boy without thinking, but my son is a second thought, even when I have said, "Look at your son, he is in dire need." I was married to a cheating man and hooked up with another cheating man. I wonder if it's just my bad choices in men. The vocabulary lesson for bad choices. Let's get started. This is actually not a Dear Abby letter. It's a Dear Dr. Tracy letter, another advice column, but same idea. So here we go. Okay, first of all, in the beginning, we see the word divorced. Of course, divorced means you're not married anymore. You were married and then you broke the marriage. Now you are divorced. Okay, and then we see the word approximately. Approximately means about, almost, kind of. So she says, I've been divorced for approximately 3 years. Means about 3 years. Not exactly 3 years, but, close to 3 years. Okay, and then she said when she met her new boyfriend, she said they hit it off very quickly. When you talk about people hitting it off or to hit it off, it means you like each other very quickly. So you go to a party, you meet someone new, and you say, "Wow, we hit it off." It means you started talking and immediately or very quickly you liked each other. So that's to hit it off. Sometimes it's used with dating, sometimes just friendship is fine also. Okay, then a little bit later in the paragraph, she says she found out that her boyfriend was fooling around with someone else. Now in this case, in a situation, fooling around in a dating situation means basically having sex with somebody. And it has an idea of very casual. It's not a deep, serious relationship. So if you say, someone asks you, are you dating? Are you dating that person? And you say, no, we're just fooling around. It just means you're just having fun, maybe having sex, but that's all. It's not a super serious relationship. So her boyfriend was fooling around with someone else. She found out that he was having sex with somebody else. And of course, she's not happy. All right, but then she said, I figured that since we didn't have a committed relationship, that it was no problem. I figured means I thought. Sometimes we'll say, I figure this is a good thing to do. It means I think it's a good thing to do. So to figure means to think. It has other meanings maybe too, but in this case, and usually, it's kind of a casual way to say think or believe. Okay, and then she said she figured she had no place to say anything because they did not have a committed relationship. A committed relationship is a serious relationship where you say, I'm only with you, you're only with me. That's a committed relationship. So if you're married, that's a committed relationship. If you have a very serious boyfriend or girlfriend, that's a committed relationship. It's not just fooling around. It's a committed relationship, serious. So she said, we didn't have a committed relationship, so I had no place to say anything. To have no place to do something, it means you have no good reason. So I had no place to say anything means I have no good reason to complain, to say something to him, to complain. Oh, why are you with that other woman? Because they did not have a committed relationship, she had no place to say something to him, to complain. She had no good reason to complain. All right, and she mentions in that first paragraph also that she found out that this guy, her boyfriend, went with another woman to his family reunion. A reunion is kind of a meeting, but it's a meeting of people from your past. So a family reunion means all of your family members come together and they meet one time. Not just your close family, not just your mom and your dad or brother or sister. It also means aunts, uncles, cousins, your really big family. Probably you don't see them a lot. Depends, I guess. Some people live near their big families. But in America, most people don't live near their extended families, their big families. So they have a family reunion sometimes where all the family, the cousins, the aunts, the grandparents, the uncles, everybody gets together at one time. That's called a family reunion. So a family reunion. All right, so then let's move on to the next paragraph for the vocabulary. She says, I guess my issue is the fact that now I'm still in this relationship. She's still with him. She says, my issue. My issue means my problem. Issue sometimes means topic, but also sometimes it means a problem. Especially in relationships or psychologically, mentally. If we say I have issues or I have an issue, then usually that means I have a problem or I have problems. So she says, I guess my issue is the fact that I have a child with him now, and all this stuff is still happening. So she says, I guess my problem. This is her problem, her issue, her problem. Okay, so she's still dating him. But she says, I brought a child into this nonsense. So she's dating her boyfriend. Her boyfriend has another woman, and now they have a child together. Oh, it's complicated. Anyway, she says, I brought a child into this nonsense. So brought a child into means just she gave birth. She had a baby, and now the baby is in this situation also. The child is in this situation. And nonsense means something that's foolish, stupid, crazy. So in this case, this nonsense means this crazy, stupid situation. So now there's a child involved in this crazy situation, in this nonsense. Okay, and then she says that the boyfriend always makes an excuse. He's always making excuses. An excuse is a reason for doing something that's wrong. Right? So if you're late to class and I say, "Why are you late?" And you say, "Oh, the bus was late." That's your excuse, right? It's the reason you did something wrong. Being late to class is wrong. It's not a big wrong, but it's a small thing. But it's a mistake or it's something wrong. And your reason for doing something wrong is called an excuse. So you say, "Oh, the bus is late." That's your excuse. That's your reason for doing something that's bad or wrong or criticized. All right, and a little later on in that second paragraph, she says, "I have dealt with him taking women to hotels, and my gut tells me it was her." Okay, I have dealt with. To deal with something, to deal with a situation, to deal with a person. It means you keep trying to solve problems in that situation. You don't quit, but you also don't solve the problem. So it really has this idea of continuing to survive or continuing to try, usually some difficult situation. So she says, and the past tense is dealt. Present tense is deal. So to deal with somebody means they're difficult, but you'll deal with them. You'll keep trying to talk to them or communicate with them. If you deal with a difficult situation, it means you survive this situation. You keep trying in this situation. You probably don't solve the problem completely, but you also don't quit. You deal with it. Past tense is dealt with. So she says, "I have dealt with this difficult problem." And it's actually present perfect, but anyway. I have dealt with him taking women to hotels. So her boyfriend takes other girls to hotels, and she's dealing with this, or she has dealt with this. So it means it keeps happening, and she keeps trying to survive the situation, but she can't. Another word or phrase with the same meaning is to handle a situation, to handle a person. So she could say, "I have handled him taking women to hotels." It's the same basic meaning as dealt or deal. All right, and then she says in that same sentence, "My gut tells me it was her." Her means his ex-wife, this one person. My gut tells me means you have a feeling, a deep feeling about some information or something. So my gut tells me it was her. It means she has a feeling, a deep feeling that it was this other woman. But she really doesn't know. A gut feeling, or to have your gut tell you, it means it's not your brain. It's not your logical, normal brain, not your normal mind. It's not that you have good information or you see something happen or you thinking clearly. It's more of an emotion, a deep instinct, a deep intuition, a deep feeling that something is happening or something is wrong. So my gut tells me it was her. She feels it was this other woman. Right? She's not sure. She didn't see the other woman, but she feels it. She feels it deep down. And gut means stomach. Right? Gut means stomach. So it means my stomach tells me. My gut tells me. So it's this deep feeling about something, an intuition. All right, and then starting the next paragraph, she says, "I have tried to get over all the cheating." To get over something, of course it has a direct meaning, but in this it also has another meaning, and that is to get over means to forget or to forgive and forget. So I have tried to get over all the cheating. Cheating, of course, means him seeing other women. So she's tried to forget it. She's tried to get over it. She's tried to forget it and not worry about it anymore. To get over someone. For example, if you have an ex-girlfriend, you break up, and after 1 month, you're still very sad. "Oh, I'm so sad," right? You can't get over her. But after 6 months, you feel okay, you forget her, it's no problem. If you see her, you're not upset. Then you can say, I got over her. Past tense, right? I got over her. Okay. A little bit later in that paragraph, you see the word, "I stand up for myself against his family." I stand up for myself. To stand up for yourself means you fight for yourself. Now, it could mean really fighting with your, hitting and kicking, but usually it just means arguing. So if someone does something bad to you, you won't let them do it. You will say, "Hey, stop doing that. Don't do that." That's called standing up for yourself. I stand up for myself means I fight for myself. I argue for myself. I am strong for myself. I don't let other people attack me or treat me badly. I stand up for myself. I'm not sure she really does, but anyway, I stand up for myself. Okay, and then a little bit later, she says, I guess the bottom line is, knowing how much he still sees his ex-wife and that there's all this bad stuff happening with the child, the bottom line means the final problem or the conclusion, right? If you say, the bottom line is, I'm really angry, that means that's your final point. That's your main point. That's your conclusion. So maybe I talk a lot about many, many things, but finally, my conclusion, my main point is that I'm angry. The bottom line is that I'm angry. The bottom line is your main point. All right, let's keep going. And he says, I cannot stand her, this other woman. She cannot stand her. If you can't stand someone or can't stand something, it means you hate it. If you say, I can't stand English, it means you hate English. Of course, that's not true, but anyway. If you say, I can't stand Tom Cruise, it means you hate Tom Cruise. So you can't stand something, it means you hate it. And then a little bit later, she uses the phrase that he wants to have his cake and eat it too. To have his cake and eat it too. Or to have your cake and eat it too. This means you want two things, but really you must choose one. Right? So if you have your cake, you keep your cake, then you can't eat it, because if you eat it, then it's gone, right? It disappears. It goes to your stomach. Now you don't have it anymore. So if you have a cake, you can keep it. You can keep it. It looks perfect. Everything's perfect. Or you can eat it, right? You can eat it and then it's gone. But you cannot eat it and keep it at the same time. It's impossible. So this phrase, to have your cake and eat it too, it describes a situation where you want two things, but you really can only have one of them. Another example, you go to a store, you want to buy an iPod, and you have $150. And you say, I want to keep my money, and I also want the iPod. Well, it's impossible, right? You can only have one. You want to have your cake and eat it too. Okay, a little later, we see the word paranoid. Paranoid means you're scared of everybody and everything. And you think everybody wants to hurt you. You think everybody wants to cheat you or hurt you. That's paranoid. Then we see the word animosity a little bit later. Animosity is a feeling that you don't like somebody. It's a feeling that somebody is your enemy. If you say, I have animosity towards him, it means you think he is your enemy. You feel he is your enemy. Animosity, it means a feeling that someone is your enemy. And then finally, the last paragraph, we see the word dire. Dire. Dire means very difficult or dangerous or terrible. Like a dire situation is a very risky, difficult situation. Maybe dangerous. Or maybe just risky. It means it's easy to fail. It's easy that something bad will happen. Dire, a dire situation. A dire need means you have a terrible need. You really, really need something, or else you will suffer, or something bad will happen. And finally, the last phrase, to hook up with somebody. She says, she always hooks up with bad men. To hook up with means to connect. Now, it can just mean to meet. I'm going to hook up with my friend at the movie. That means you're going to meet your friend at the movie. But it can have a dating meaning. If you hook up with somebody, it means you connect with them and you start dating them, or you just have sex with them. If you say, I hooked up with this girl at the bar, it means you met the girl at the bar and you probably went home and had sex. So to hook up with means to meet somebody, but it can also have this idea of just meeting someone and then having sex with them. All right, to hook up with. Let's move on to the mini story now. Welcome to the mini story for bad choices. Let's get started with the story. David Beckham is a man who wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants to be a famous movie star and a famous football player. So he moves to Hollywood. He hooks up with Tom Cruise. They hit it off immediately. David likes Tom. Tom likes David. Beckham says, "The bottom line is that I want to be a movie star just like you, Tom. Can you help me?" Tom says, "Of course. My gut tells me you will be a big success in Hollywood." So, Tom introduces Bex to a director who is very powerful. The director makes a movie with Beckham. But it's a terrible movie. Everybody hates it, and they hate Beckham. The public feels a powerful animosity towards Beckham. They can't stand him. They yell at him. They throw things at him. Beckham can't deal with the public's animosity. He is a guy who's very sensitive. He becomes scared. He feels this is a dire situation. Beckham is so scared he won't leave his house. He keeps the windows closed and the doors locked. He becomes paranoid, and he won't leave the house, even to play soccer. Finally, his team manager calls and says, "This is a situation which is unacceptable. You're fired." Beckham cries, "No!" He has no job, and nobody can stand him. Okay, let's go back to the top, this time with questions. David Beckham is a man who wants to have his cake and eat it too. Does Beckham want two things, but really he can only have one? Yes, that's the exact meaning of to have his cake and eat it too. What does he want? What two things does he want? Well, he wants to be a soccer player and a movie star. He wants both. But actually, he must choose. He can only be one, either a movie star or a soccer player. He doesn't have enough time or talent or skill to do both. But he wants both. He wants to have his cake and eat it too. Does Beckham want to have his cake and eat it too by being rich and good looking? Well, no, actually, no. It's possible to be rich and good looking. That's okay. You can look good. You can be handsome and rich. You don't need to choose between those two things. So that's not the problem. He wants to have his cake and eat it too because he wants to be a famous soccer player and be a famous actor at the same time. And this is not possible. He wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants both things, but he can only have one. So he moves to Hollywood. He hooks up with Tom Cruise. Does he meet Tom Cruise? Yes, he does. He meets Tom Cruise. Does he hook up with John Travolta? No, he doesn't hook up with John Travolta. Does he hook up with Julia Roberts? No, he doesn't hook up with Julia Roberts. Does he hook up with Tom Cruise? Yes, he does, of course. Does he hook up with Julia Roberts or Tom Cruise? Well, he hooks up with Tom Cruise. Does he hook up with the Spice Girls? Well, in the past, he hooked up with one of the Spice Girls, right? He hooked up with one of the Spice Girls. Now, this is a different meaning of hooked up. Is he dating Tom Cruise? Well, no, he's not. No. He hooked up with Tom Cruise means he just met Tom Cruise. They met, they got together. But if he hooked up with one of the Spice Girls, then that means, yeah, he's dating her, he's married to her now, etc. So he hooked up with Tom Cruise, and they hit it off immediately. Did Tom hate David? No. They hit it off immediately. They liked each other immediately. Did Beckham hit it off with Tom? Yes, he did. Beckham liked Tom. Did Tom hit it off with Beckham? Yeah, Tom also liked Beckham. They hit it off. They both hit it off. Did Tom Cruise hit it off with Ronaldinho? No. He didn't hit it off with Ronaldinho. In fact, he hates Ronaldinho. He hates him. He likes Beckham because Beckham is cool and he looks good. So, he hit it off with David Beckham. He did not hit it off with Ronaldinho. Who did Beckham hit it off with? Well, he hit it off with Tom Cruise. All right, so they liked each other. And Beckham said, "The bottom line, Tom, is that I want to be a movie star just like you. What is Beckham's final point, his most important point? Well, the most important thing he wants is to be a movie star just like Tom Cruise. That's the bottom line. Is the bottom line that Beckham wants money? No, that's not the bottom line. The money is not the most important thing for Beckham right now. What is the bottom line for David Beckham? The bottom line is he wants to be a famous movie star. That's his bottom line. That's his main point, his final point, his most important point. What is Tom Cruise's bottom line? Well, maybe Tom Cruise's bottom line is Scientology, his religion. That's his bottom line. He wants to get David to join Scientology, to join his religion. That's Tom's secret bottom line. But Beckham's bottom line is that he wants to be a movie star. So he says, the bottom line is, I want to be a movie star just like you. Tom Cruise says, of course, my gut tells me you will be a big success in Hollywood. Does Tom know definitely, 100%, that Beckham will succeed? No. He doesn't know, not in his brain, not in his mind. His gut tells him that he will be a big success. He has a feeling, right? A feeling in his stomach. He has a deep feeling that Beckham will be successful, but he doesn't really know. He's not sure. He just has a strong feeling. His gut tells him that Beckham will be a big success in Hollywood. Does his gut tell him that Beckham will be a great soccer player in Los Angeles? No, his gut does not tell him he will be a great soccer player. What does Tom's gut tell him? Tom's gut tells him that Beckham will be a big success in Hollywood as an actor. His gut doesn't tell him that he'll be a big success as a soccer player. Maybe he won't be. But his gut tells him that he'll be a big success in Hollywood. Whose gut tells him that Beckham will succeed? Well, Tom Cruise's gut tells him that Beckham will be a big success in Hollywood. And so Tom introduces Beckham to a director who is very powerful. The director makes a movie with Beckham, but it's a terrible movie. Everybody hates it, and they hate Beckham too. The public feels a powerful animosity towards Beckham. Does the public like David Beckham? No, they feel animosity towards him. Do they think Beckham is their enemy? Yes, that's right. They think David Beckham is their enemy. He is the enemy of goodness. He is the enemy of good quality. He is the enemy of honesty. He is their enemy. They feel a powerful animosity towards him. They feel animosity towards Beckham. Who feels animosity towards Beckham? Well, the public, the American public, feels animosity towards Beckham. Does Tom Cruise feel animosity towards Beckham? No. Tom still likes David Beckham. Tom does not feel animosity towards Beckham. The public feels animosity towards Beckham. Does Beckham feel animosity towards the public? No. Beckham loves the public. He wants them to love him. The public feels animosity towards Beckham, but Beckham does not feel animosity towards the public. So the public feels animosity towards Beckham. They can't stand him. Do they love him? No, the opposite. They can't stand him. They hate him. Who can't the public stand? Well, the public can't stand David Beckham. Can the public stand Tom Cruise? Yeah. They still like Tom Cruise, but they can't stand David Beckham. Can Beckham's wife stand him? Yes, his wife can stand him. She still likes him. She still loves him. But the public can't stand David Beckham. They can't stand him. They don't like him. They hate him. They can't stand him, so they yell at him and throw things at him. You suck! Yeah! Beckham can't deal with the animosity. Can Beckham handle the animosity? the bad feeling? No, he can't handle it. Can he survive it? No, he can't survive it. He can't. He feels horrible. He feels terrible. He wants to hide. He can't deal with the animosity. He can't handle it. He can't survive it. He can't keep trying when everybody yells at him. Why can't he deal with the animosity? Well, Beckham can't deal with the animosity because he's very sensitive. He's a guy who is very sensitive. So Beckham can't deal with the bad feelings. Beckham can't deal with the public's animosity. Can Beckham deal with his coach? Yeah, Beckham can deal with his soccer coach. If his soccer coach becomes angry, Beckham can deal with it. He can deal with it, no problem. But he can't deal with the public's animosity. He can't deal with the public's hatred. Beckham can't deal with the public not liking him. He can deal with his coach, but he can't deal with the public's animosity. He is a guy who is very sensitive, so he becomes scared. He feels this is a dire situation. Does he think this is a dangerous and difficult and scary situation? Yes, exactly. He feels this is a dire situation. Does he feel like it's a risky situation? Possibly dangerous. Yes, that's right. He feels it is a dire situation, a very risky situation. What is the dire situation? Well, the dire situation is the public's animosity, right? They hate him. That's the dire situation. Does he have a dire situation with soccer, with football? No. He's still good at playing soccer. He does not have a dire situation with soccer. That's not a dire situation. But his movie career has a dire situation. This is a dire situation. It's a dire situation that the public hates him. Beckham is so scared he won't leave his house. He keeps the windows closed and locked. He keeps his doors closed and locked. He becomes paranoid. Does Beckham think everyone wants to hurt him? Yes, he's paranoid. He thinks everybody wants to hurt him. Does he think Tom Cruise wants to hurt him? Yes, he does. He thinks that even Tom Cruise wants to hurt him. He's paranoid. Does Tom really want to hurt him? No, Tom really does not want to hurt Beckham. Tom still likes Beckham, but Beckham's paranoid. Beckham thinks everybody wants to hurt him, even Tom Cruise, even his wife. He thinks everyone wants to hurt him and everybody hates him. He's paranoid. Is he paranoid about his wife? Yes, he is. He thinks his wife also hates him. Is he paranoid about Tom Cruise? Yes, he thinks Tom Cruise wants to hate him also and wants to hurt him. Does he think that everyone in the world wants to hurt him? Yes, he does. He is very, very paranoid. He thinks everybody in the world hates him and wants to hurt him. He is super paranoid. He's so paranoid that he won't leave his house. He won't even go to play soccer. Finally, his team coach, his team manager calls and says, "Beckham, this is a situation which is unacceptable. You're fired." Beckham loses his job and his movie career. He starts to cry. Oh no, everybody hates me. He has no job and nobody can stand him. Does anybody like Beckham now? No, not anymore. Finally, nobody likes him. Finally, nobody can stand him. Can Tom Cruise stand him, finally, in the end? No, even Tom Cruise can't stand him in the end. Why can't Tom Cruise stand him anymore? Well, because he's so paranoid, right? He's always telling Tom, "You want to hurt me. You want to hurt me. You hate me." And so now, even Tom Cruise can't stand him. Can his wife stand him anymore? No, even his wife can't stand him. Now she wants a divorce because Beckham is not famous anymore. Nobody likes him, so his wife wants a divorce. She can't stand him. Tom Cruise can't stand him. His coach can't stand him. The public can't stand him. Nobody likes him. Okay, this one is a little long, so no time to pause. So what I would like you to do, go back, listen to each sentence, then pause and repeat the sentence. Copy my pronunciation. Then listen to the next sentence. Pause again. Repeat my pronunciation. Copy my pronunciation. And then play one more sentence, and then pause, and again, copy my pronunciation. After you do that, finally, try to tell all of the story yourself. Okay, go on to the point of view mini stories next. Hello, welcome to the POV, point of view mini stories for bad choices. Same story, different time. Let's start the first one with 3 years ago. We'll have to imagine this happened 3 years ago. 3 years ago, David Beckham was a man who wanted to have his cake and eat it too. He wanted to be a famous movie star and a famous soccer player at the same time. So he moved to Hollywood. He hooked up with Tom Cruise. They hit it off immediately. Tom liked David. David liked Tom. Beckham said, "Tom, the bottom line is that I want to be a movie star just like you. Can you help me?" Tom said, "Of course. My gut tells me you will be a big success in Hollywood." So Tom introduced Beckham to a director who was very powerful. The director made a movie with Beckham. But it was a terrible movie. Everybody hated it, and they hated Beckham. The public felt a powerful animosity towards Beckham. They couldn't stand him. They yelled at him and threw things at him. Beckham couldn't deal with the public's animosity. He was a guy who was very sensitive, so he became scared. He felt this was a dire situation. Beckham was so scared he wouldn't leave his house. He kept the windows closed and the doors locked. He became paranoid and wouldn't even leave to play soccer. Finally, his team manager said, "This is a situation which is unacceptable. You're fired." Beckham cried. Oh, he had no job and nobody could stand him. All right, let's change the time a little bit. This time we're going to talk about the story, but that Beckham has always wanted to do these things, okay? So these have been happening for a while. Beckham has always been a man who has wanted to have his cake and eat it too. He has always wanted to be a famous movie star and a famous football player. He has always wanted to move to Hollywood. He has always wanted to hook up with Tom Cruise, and he has hoped they would hit it off immediately. David has always liked Tom Cruise. Tom has always liked David. Well, one day, Beckham said, "Look, Tom, the bottom line is that I want to be a movie star just like you. Can you help me?" Tom said, "Of course. My gut tells me you will be a big success in Hollywood." So Tom introduced Beckham to a director who was very powerful. The director made a movie with Beckham, but it was a terrible movie. Everybody hated it, and they hated Beckham. The public felt a powerful animosity towards Beckham. They couldn't stand him. They yelled at him. They threw things at him. Beckham couldn't deal with the public's animosity. He was a guy who was very sensitive. He has always been a guy who was very sensitive. He felt this was a dire situation. Beckham was so scared he wouldn't leave his house. He kept the windows closed and the doors locked. He became paranoid and wouldn't even leave to play soccer. Finally, his team manager called and said, "This is a situation which is unacceptable. You're fired." Beckham cried. He had no job and nobody could stand him. Okay, you'll notice that I use the perfect, the have been, have gone, that verb tense, when I was talking about things that have always been true or that were true for a while in the past, maybe starting in the past until now, or maybe over some time in the past, a range of time. And then when I talked about specific conversations, specific actions, I used the simple past. All right, don't think about that too much. Listening is how you will improve your grammar, listening and practicing. Why is not a good question about grammar or language. Don't ask why. If you want a PhD, a doctorate in linguistics, you can ask why. If you want to be fluent, if you want to speak English easily and naturally, don't ask why. Okay? Just learn it. Just listen carefully. Just do the lessons. You will improve, I promise. All right, next, let's talk about the future. In fact, maybe this is going to be a true story, right? Let's think, what's going to happen to David Beckham when he comes to Hollywood? He's moving to Los Angeles. That's true. What's going to happen? Let's imagine. This is what I think will happen. So now, the future. Next year, David Beckham is moving to Los Angeles. And he is a man who wants to have his cake and eat it too. I think he will want to be a famous movie star and a famous football player at the same time. That's why he's moving to Hollywood. He's gonna hook up with Tom Cruise. They'll hit it off. David will like Tom. Tom will like David. Beckham will say to Tom, the bottom line is, I want to be a movie star just like you. Can you help me? Tom will say, of course. My gut tells me you are going to be a big success in Hollywood. So Tom will introduce Beckham to a director who will be very powerful. The director will make a movie with Beckham. But it's going to be a terrible movie. Everybody will hate it, and they'll hate Beckham too. The public will feel a powerful animosity towards Beckham. They won't be able to stand him. They'll yell at him and throw things at him. Beckham won't be able to deal with the public's animosity. He's a guy who is very sensitive, so he'll be scared. He'll feel this is a dire situation. Beckham will be so scared he won't leave his house. He'll keep the windows closed and the doors locked. He'll become paranoid, and he won't even leave to play soccer. Finally, his team manager will call and say, this is a situation which is unacceptable. You're fired. Beckham will cry. He'll have no job, and nobody will be able to stand him. All right, did you notice in the future, when we're talking about the future, we say will be able to instead of can, right? Instead of can stand him, I'll say will be able to stand him in the future. And you'll also, in the future, you have to listen very carefully, because in real speech, not textbooks, but real American English, we add ul to the subject, right? Beckham'll do this. Beckham'll do that. Now, in a textbook, you will see Beckham will go to Los Angeles. But we say Beckham'll. Beckham'll. The ul gives you the future. Beckham will go to Los Angeles. And in the textbook, you'll see going to. Beckham is going to make a movie. But in real speech, we say gonna. Beckham's gonna. Right? We don't say Beckham is going to. We say Beckham's gonna. Beckham's, apostrophe S, gonna. Beckham's gonna make a movie. Beckham's gonna do this. Beckham's gonna do that. Beckham will go. Beckham will come. So we use is gonna and ul for the future in real speech. That's how we actually say it when we speak. So listen carefully for that. Listen very carefully when you hear those future versions. Now, please go back, listen to each version, pause after the version, tell it yourself. Try to tell it yourself. If you can't, it's okay. Relax, rewind, listen again. Rewind, listen again every day. It's not a race. Just relax. Enjoy it. Okay. See you next time. Welcome to the commentary for bad choices. Bad choices. I actually use this letter, this Dr. Tracy letter, in my class here in San Francisco, and we chatted about this topic a little bit. And what we talked about was the question, why do people make the same bad choices again and again and again? So, for example, at the bottom of the letter, she says, I was married to a cheating man, her first husband, and then she said, I hooked up with another cheating man, and I wonder, is it just my bad choices in men? And, there are a lot of people like this. When I was a social worker, for example, before I became a teacher, I had this kind of client all the time. I'll give you the very strong example. Some women always date men who abuse them, who hurt them, who hit them. And it happens again and again and again. So they date one man, and the man, hits them, and finally they leave this man. And the next guy they date, after a few months, maybe after 6 months or 7 months, he starts to hit them. And then they stay with him for a long time, they break up, and then again, they really not happy, and they finally find another guy. He seems so nice. You meet him, he seems very polite, but guess what happens? 6 months, 7 months later, he also abuses her, hits her. And it was a serious question. That's a very serious situation, obviously. And I would always ask, what's happening here? Why are they choosing the same kind of guy again and again and again? And, of course, we all do this sometimes. I think most of us have something in our life that's not working, right? That never works. There's just some part of our life, and we continue to make the same bad choices again and again and again. My personal example, a small example, is eating sugar. I always eat chocolate and bad stuff. And I know it's bad for me, and I try to stop eating it, but then every night I go and I'll eat some more chocolate. And then I'll say, no, this is bad, I shouldn't do this. And then, maybe I'll try 1 week to be healthy, and I only eat good food, and then finally, I get some chocolate again, or I get something sweet. So this is my own thing. And of course, with me, there's some physical part too. It's a little bit of a sugar addiction. But a lot of us have these kind of behaviors in our life, and it happens a lot in relationships. People choose other people who have a similar problem, and it repeats again and again and again and again. And, it's not always conscious. Sometimes people would get angry at the women, for example, when I was a social worker. Why do these women do this? Why do they always choose these men? And they blame the woman. And of course, it is happening. The woman is doing this. She is choosing these men. But it's usually unconscious. Okay, the woman is not thinking, I want to find a man who hits me. Okay, of course not. They don't want that. But there's something unconscious, possibly something from their childhood, their own parents, some experiences, possibly something else, that they unconsciously are attracted to something about these men. And also these men are attracted to something about them or about these kind of women. And it usually has kind of a deep psychological root. It's not just so simple as, why do they do this? They don't realize they're doing it, or they realize it, but they don't know why it's happening. So it's quite serious, and it really is a very serious problem. And some women do break that. Now, some women will, if they have an abusive boyfriend who hurts them, it's not this kind of situation. Sometimes they have one, and they say, never again, and they never again date someone like that. Because, men who are like this, it's not like in the beginning, they're always very sweet and polite. I worked at a shelter for women who were abused. So this house, we would let the women and the children come and live in the house to escape the men, help them find a job and help them find another place away from the man. And, I got to hear a lot of stories about these men, and I even met some of them. And the thing about there's kind of a cycle with abuse like this. And in the beginning, these men are always very sweet and romantic. In fact, they even more than normal. if you meet them just the first time, hi, how are you? Many times they seem like they're just so great. Wow, they're so nice. They're so romantic. And when the women first date them, these men are like, always saying super nice things and giving them gifts, lots and lots of attention. And then slowly, a little bit later, after they date longer, they start to control a little bit more, right? They don't like the woman's friends, so they try to make the woman get rid of her friends. And then they separate the woman from her family. They want just the woman and him, just them, nobody else. So the woman becomes more isolated, more alone, only with the man. And then finally, after many months, the man might hit her the first time. It doesn't happen in the beginning right away. So these women are not stupid. It's hard to know sometimes. But anyway, there is some kind of dynamic, some kind of psychological thing happening where why do they keep getting with these kind of men? I think more personally we might think about, and maybe you could write about in the forums, think about what kind of problems do you have in your life that keep happening again and again. Somehow you unconsciously are choosing this kind of situation, or you're making it worse. I've mentioned my sugar problem is an example, and it just keeps happening again and again, no matter what I do. And Tomoe yells at me and tells me to stop doing that, right? She's shaking her head, yes. So think about that. Why do you continue to make bad choices sometimes in your life? And what bad choices do you usually make? What parts of your life do you do this? And why do you think this is happening? Now later, I'm going to do a lesson with an article by a man named Bill Ferguson. And he actually has a few articles about this exact topic. And he talks about why people do this. And, even better, he talks about how you can solve this kind of problem, how you can break the cycle, you can break the pattern, and stop making these choices again and again. Very interesting. His name is Bill Ferguson. Do a Google search for him. Bill, B-I-L-L, and Ferguson is his last name. I'm trying to remember how to spell Ferguson. But anyway, this guy was a very interesting guy. He was a divorce lawyer. So he was helping people get divorced. But he didn't like it. He didn't like it because, all the people were just fighting all the time. And he thought that he should try to help people have a better relationship. So he's instead of helping people get divorced and fight, he started trying to help people talk and figure out their problems. So if they did get a divorce, they would be friends. They could have a calm breakup, basically, and they wouldn't hate each other. There wouldn't be all these terrible, angry, nasty, negative emotions. And when he started to do this, it started to work. He was helping a lot of people, so he decided to become a counselor. And I think he was on Oprah's TV show a few times. But anyway, go to his website. His name is Bill Ferguson, B-I-L-L, and his last name is F-E-R-G-U-S-O-N, Bill Ferguson. His website is called Mastery of Life, so it's www.masteryoflife.com. So www.masteryoflife.com. Mastery of Life, 3 words together. Anyways, he's got some interesting articles on there, and I will use some of his articles for a future lesson. All right, so that's all. Go to the forums. Try to write a little bit. Write about this topic. What should this woman do? Write about your own life. What problems do you have in your life that happen again and again? All right, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.